Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. It is Monday night. It is time for another fun episode of Winners and Losers. I am your fill-in host, Matt. I'm joined tonight by Davo and Kev. Gav, of course, is under the weather. If you were watching on the Fatback 4 last night, he was pretty hurting, so he's taking the night off. And I believe Phil is out burning all of his Chicago Bears gear because that's a joke of a team right there. So I'm filling in for the evening, and we're gonna have a good one. So, Davo, how are you? Long time.
Good, yeah, all good. Always good to come on after a win, isn't it?
Yeah, it makes things that much better. I mean, Kev, you know exactly what I'm talking about because we were doing this about 24 hours ago.
Yeah, but in fairness, last season is still fresh in the memory where like I'm just enjoying all of these wins now, enjoying all the performances as well. So yeah, it's I'm going to continue because it's just exactly. We're hitting the straps at the minute. You know, it's not the case that we're winning games. We're looking good doing it.
Exactly, and enjoy it. I mean, don't let these days pass you by because before you know it, you end up having a season like last year, and you end up regretting not enjoying the good times while they're there because we're currently in the good times. But let's get right into it. Kev, we're going to come to your loser first. Speaking of good times, Jenas has had a pretty good time, hasn't he? I really don't know a lot about it. I don't watch a lot of the pre-game, post-game stuff. I don't get access to match of the day and stuff like that over here in Canada. So fill me in on exactly why Jenas is your loser of the week.
But this was literally nothing. There's nothing to do with him being a pundit or anything like that. This was literally to do with a tweet that he threw out there during the North London derby in reference to a decision from a referee and how he decided that this was the hill to die on this decision is beyond me. And is that he put out a tweet and tore into the referee. And at the end of the day, he did what basically most of us do if you're on Twitter and you're watching the game at the same time. But the difference is we're not being paid by the license fare by everybody in the UK to pontificate about football. You know, we're just shooting shit and what have you. But he does it, and it's a big deal. And the thing is, I think about 3 or 4 weeks beforehand, he was a spokesman for a charity that was designed to respect for referees, and people have to check their emotions, and fans have to do better, and players have to be better, and you have to be more restrained, and this and that. And here he is, a few weeks later, tearing into a referee for the most straightforward handball decision you'll ever see in your life, saying that they're ruining the game, and start calling them names left, right, and centre. He got pulled up on it straight away by there's a refereeing charity on social media that tends to jump to the defense of every referee in the country, no matter what. So they go the other extreme of it. But then you had a load of other people piling in saying, look, you're just being a pure hypocrite here. And he is. He's just been an absolute pure hypocrite because he would have been on the cheerleading bandwagon for the likes of Klopp to get his ban and to get his ban extended, and players to get banned for talking to referees and having a pop and what have you, getting on Andy Robertson's case over the linesman last year. And he's no better. He's no different than anyone else. And he's there a few weeks later doing it himself. You know, I got a real beam. I got a really thick.
Is the tweet still up, Kev?
And he's left it. Yeah, he's left it up.
Right. I'd give him a slight bit of credit for that. Anyway, at least he didn't delete it.
He didn't delete it, and he's come out tonight with the apology because I'm sure his agent has been in his ear and said, look, if you still want this BBC gig next year, put in your little apology now. The apology is meaningless because it's like that. He would have been aware of what he did within half an hour of checking his phone again. You know, his phone was hopping because you can see by the replies that this tweet just blew up. So it's taken in the bones of 24 hours to come up with this apology. That's by the by. But when you look at the amount of pundits that are across various TV networks, be it in Canada for you, Matt, in Ireland for us, Davo, on our national TV stations, as well as the ones that are paid for, the quality of the pundits when it comes to talking about decisions that are made by referees on the pitch and their ability to interpret those decisions is so bad that it's almost like it's deliberate because they need to create a controversy in the post-match to talk about a discussion or to have a discussion point over a simple decision. When all it needs is for someone to know the rules and say, look, yeah, the ball came off his foot and onto his hand. That shouldn't be a handball. Referee made a mistake. Yeah, okay, I agree with you. There's no shouting match in that because that's what the rule is. Or the other one, which is what happened with Northland and Derby, shot when hand there, there's an unnatural position away from your body, and it's stopping the ball going in the damn goal. It's a blatant handball. And the only thing that saved his bacon and the fact that there wasn't a red card was Basuma was on the line behind him. But that's not, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know this. And these guys are paid six-figure salaries and they don't know it. I'm convinced they don't know it now because they can't be this stupid and this ignorant for this long. So I don't think they're playing the ignorant card. I just think they just don't get it. They don't know. They haven't got a clue. And it's like the week in, week out, season in, season out, we as paying customers we have to put up with this shit. It drives me fucking insane after a while, yeah. There's little things, small little things, bug the shit out of me. And people like him bug the shit out of me. Robbing and living.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it has anything to do, Davo, with the fact that it seems like every year the handball rule gets slightly tweaked, and it's understandable for people like us, we're casuals, we come on, we talk about Liverpool, we all watch the game and stuff like that, to maybe not understand the ins and outs of it, but surely you expect the pundits, like Kev saying, guys that are taking big salaries off of national broadcasters to actually understand what the rules are, right?
Yeah, well, they have to read it up on. I didn't realise, like Kev mentioned today. I think Kev mentioned the Luton one. They come off the player's leg and onto his hand, and I assumed that was in the rules, so that's not a penalty. But it's not in the rules. There's nothing in the rules about if it hits off any other part of your body and hits your hand. If your hand is still in no natural position, it's still meant to be a penalty. Now, I don't think that's a penalty. I think that's crazy. But it's more. I was under the impression that that's not a penalty in the rules, when that's not the case. But then, as Kev said, these fellas are getting six-figure salaries. Do some research. Jenas is a fucking thoroughly unlikable fucking pundit, and this carry on from him is just, for me anyway, just a case of the mask slipping a bit. You know what I mean? He's a Spurs fan. Well, listen, he played for Spurs, played for Forest, played for Newcastle. They all go with their old clubs, no more than ex-Liverpool players do at Liverpool, but to be involved in a campaign, as one of the comments was there earlier, which is one of the first replies I seen to his tweet, was someone putting up 3 pictures of a transcript of what he said in this ad. It was an ad or a program about. It
was an ad.
About an ad for the referees, and basically then a picture of him standing there looking like an idiot, and then. That's one of the first replies to his tweet. Basically, he called them a shithouse, didn't he? Effing fucking shithouse referees ruining our game. And it's good to disagree on this, but I think Kev is fucking bang on. It's an absolutely nailed on handball that's going on target. Yeah. And if Basuma is a yard to the left, he's probably getting sent off as well for denying of a goal scoring opportunity. Pick your poison, do you know what I mean? There's other hills to die on, and that handball the other day was definitely not. And the rules, listen, you're going to get subjectivity every season. I'm still pissed off over when we didn't get the Emirates last year against Arsenal. The Saliba one, I think that's a disgrace. But as fans, the Man United fans, I've seen a lot of United fans on about Dermot Gallagher doing that Sky Sports thing, the ref watch. He was basically, he was trying to differentiate between Romero's handball in the North London derby and the one against United, when there really was no defending the one against United. They should have had a penalty. United against Spurs, that one. And you're dealing with humans, it's subjective. We all jump up and down and piss them on, and that's going to continue because it's subjective. Yeah. That's it, really.
Yeah. The other thing is I was going to say the other thing on why he was so angry apparently is because the ref took 11 different times he looked at it, and they come out with this line, clear and obvious, clear and obvious, clear and obvious. That's a lot of bullshit. That line should be removed from the vocabulary of every person who ever appears talking on television about football, because literally a line that was used at the very, very beginning, before it was even introduced, when they described how we want VAR to intervene in games. We just wanted to bring it in for the clear and obvious mistakes. And from that day, those 3 words have been used to the nth degree to justify everything. And it's nonsense. I think your man that used to play for Liverpool, Stephen Warnock, he's on that ref watch with him. And a couple of weeks ago, he made the point that those 3 words should be banned. And it should be a case of right or wrong. Did you get the decision right? Yes or no? If you got it wrong, change it. If you got it right, leave it alone. But come out after and justify it. You know, and everyone in their dogs would be the happier for it if they just come out and say, look, I made this decision because of this. Here's the video. This is what I think. And there you go. The case is closed. The discussion's over after that. You can disagree with them all you like and call them every name under the sun. But at least if they come out after and say, look, I gave a handball for this reason and I didn't send them off for this reason. You can like it or lump it after that, but at least you know.
Yeah. Yeah, Owen Burke here with a comment to ring what you were saying there, Davo. It says, Michael Oliver didn't give that penalty at the Emirates last season, but gave one for the exact same offense a week later. And Madge Apple says, Jenas is impossible to take seriously. He commits the cardinal sin of being both biased and boring. He should stick to the banality of the one show. And
yeah, that's an awful show. Awful show.
I'm lucky I don't.
That would almost turn you. That would almost turn you into to someone who watches Emmerdale. I'll tell you. 7 o'clock, you're like, it's a tough decision. Now, so
unfortunately, Matt, that one show gets a couple of FA Cup draws a year, so I might stick it on to watch the draw. But it's so bad.
Yeah,
there's nothing more exciting than a good cup draw. But I mean, there's a little chat going on here in the comments of just people going back and forth over, you know, what should be done with the handball rule, and it's so hard because like. I think it was Bonkers LFC just says, like, make it simple. If it hits your hand, it's a handball. Then you get people coming back with the obvious of, like James Milne says, every forward will try to have the ball hit the defender in the hand. The Luis Suarez tactic of just, I'm going to kick it at your hand. Sadio Mane.
Sadio in the Champions League final.
Yeah, like that. It's hard. You can't just have it be black and white in terms of if it hits your hand anywhere, it's a handball. And if it's in the box, then it's a penalty, because you'll just end up with like the season that Bruno Fernandes scored, 20 goals or whatever it was. And he had 12 penalties for just ridiculously soft handballs. But I think it can be pretty black and white in terms of bringing it back to Jermaine Jenas of if you're going to be commentating and a pundit on TV, you have to try at least a little bit to put your fan side just away. Like he wasn't caught on a live mic saying this stuff. He typed it up on his phone and then hit send. You had a second there, Jermaine, to just go, shit, I probably shouldn't send that. Like there's been plenty of things that I have written out on my phone and went, it's not worth the hassle. Just delete. And I feel that this is going to be one of those things for him. And he might take a little bit of a kicking for a while. It's not certainly been a good couple of days for him, but Davo, will come to you for your winner. Somebody that's had a pretty good year just about now, Roberto De Zerbi.
Yeah. Look, like it was more so. Do you know what? It was more. He's been absolutely brilliant since he came in. With anyone that's watched him, like it's total football. They play out from the back. They don't get disheartened. They'll keep trying to play. As the first goal showed yesterday, when that goalkeeper gets caught in it straight away and it ends up in the net. But as yesterday kind of pointed out with management, unfortunately for us being Irish, he took Evan Ferguson off a half-time replacement, Matoma, who goes on to score after 16 seconds into the second half. And that is really you're the winner of the weekend when that happens. You really are as a manager. Then they go on to win the game. He says after then it's the worst they've played since he came in. But I really think they've had I heard today in a pod that it's the best start for a non-Big Six team since 2006. So that's knocking on 20 years. Well, heading towards 20 years anyway, fairly quick. 5 wins out of 6. Did a disappointing result on Thursday. I think everyone would have expected them probably to win against AEK Athens, but listen, Europe is different, and it can take you a bit of time to get used to. Do you know what I mean? Even for very technically sound teams, but he's like to bounce back like that, to get a win, substitute, he puts on, scores after 16 seconds, then gets a second one. Matoma was really, really, really good. Jesus Christ, he's frightening when he's in full flow. But yeah, for the Zerbi, since he came in, he actually, all the talk about rotating goalkeepers, he rotates his goalkeepers 3 in 6 games, 3 for one, 3 for the other. Wouldn't be a fan of that myself, but just like he's really, really just a breath of fresh air. Total football, encourages his keeper to keep playing. Like that goal that I was talking about yesterday, makes up balls of it, the goalkeeper yesterday.
Bad, yeah.
But then really bad. Keeps playing out. Similar to Guardiola, Valdez, all them years ago and won the Clásicos. Makes up balls of it. Tells him to keep playing, and then references him after the game, saying he kept playing out, made us win the game. Forget about the goal. So, brilliant. Look, the old adage, I wonder can they hang on to him or how long they can hang on to him for. But yeah, definitely my win of the weekend.
Yeah, well, he just, the game on the weekend was his 38th game in charge of Brighton. So that's a full season's worth. He's got 19 wins, 7 draws, 12 losses. That's a total of 64 points. Last season, Brighton finished on 62 points. So that's top 6 form over the course of a full season. And 79 goals for, 56 goals against. That's 2 goals for, a goal and a half against the game. I mean, he's a quality manager. There's no doubt about that. Where did that comment go that somebody had here? And again, he says, am I mad thinking that Zerbi wouldn't do as good a job at a much bigger club? Like, what are your thoughts on that, Davo? Or is he one of the ones that you think of when you have to contemplate the idea of what comes after Klopp for Liverpool?
Listen, I don't know as regarding coming in at Liverpool. I'd like to someone kind of tried and tested in Europe, so see how he gets on in the next couple of years. But yeah, listen, I wouldn't be jumping up and down, kicking and screaming, throwing the toys out of pram if he got the job now, because listen, you know you're going to be looking at good football week in, week out. Listen, he's got a lot of support there at Brighton. I think they're particularly, I can say, probably their South American scouting is probably the envy of a lot of clubs, if not most clubs around Europe, because they're picking up these bargains and selling them on. They've got a really good structure in place, really, really good. But listen, he's experienced. He's managed, obviously, in I think it was Sassuolo, wasn't it, in Serie A? Then he went to Russia, yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he went to Russia. Yeah, or Shakhtar, yeah, sorry. And then he's in England now. So look, he's plenty of experience. Just like I said about Liverpool, I don't know. It's a really hard question to be thinking about what it's going to be like in 3 more seasons when Klopp is no longer with us. But yeah, listen, brilliant football to watch. And yeah, look, I don't want to be thinking about that. Don't be bringing me down after that win the weekend now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Kev, there's no denying that Zerbi's done a great job. And I mean, it was big shoes to fill. Like Graham Potter done an excellent job at Brighton, and he looked like the next kind of up and coming, English manager. And I mean, talk about a sliding doors moment. Chelsea comes with the big bag, and he goes off to Stamford Bridge and is gone shortly thereafter. And Zerbi comes in and not only keeps the train going, but actually takes Brighton up another level. And I mean, Jonathan asked the question, is it Brighton making the managers good, or are the managers making Brighton good? And obviously the behind the scenes things, like Davo was saying, at Brighton, they've got the structure they have, I mean, is very solid. But cart before the horse or chicken before the egg, I guess, this question? No,
I think it's the manager, purely and simply because if the players don't buy into the manager, or if they, as you've seen, and the main culprits for this are Chelsea. That Chelsea dressing room have sacked more managers than anyone else. And Manchester United is not far behind that. Manchester United dressing room is another one that can get managers sacked. Some of the top-end managers in world football, they've managed to get them binned off out the door. The manager has to get the buy-in of the players, and they all have bought in. The amount of times I've talked to Joe from Brighton, from Albion Obsessed, about Zerbi, and the fans love him. The fans are up in arms, delighted with him. The thing is, you got to look at it. He's had 7 clubs in eight years. And when you looked, I remember, listen, I was actually watching something tonight. It was Simon, what's his face, on TalkSport, and Graham Souness.
Jordan?
It was a clip between Simon Jordan and Graham Souness when he was appointed. And Souness made the comment, this is a really huge gamble, because what has the guy actually done? You know, when you look at his body of work before he turns up at Brighton, yeah, he was flying at Shakhtar Donetsk, but look, it's Shakhtar Donetsk in the Ukraine League. They're going to dominate. Sassuolo, yeah, he did really well and got him promoted and what have you, but, you know, so you know, sides are coming up from Serie B and looking all right in Serie A. They always have done. You go back before that, he was at Benevento, he was at Palmero, and then he's at, like, you know, fodder clubs. He doesn't have a body of work to suggest that he's capable of doing what he's doing, and yet he's doing it, and he's got some really experienced players and real up and coming talent, all singing off the same hymn sheet, all with the buy-in. So there's more to this than just a manager being in the right place at the right time and having really good players to work with. There's much more to it than that. The way he plays is phenomenal to watch. Must be really difficult to play against. We found out last season, we tore us apart. I mean, we got points off him last year, but he tore us apart in both games. You know, and we fluked a draw in the first game and got torn apart in the second one. And I don't know what he's going to do after this. Maybe this is the perfect storm and everything is working as good as it possibly could do at a club where you still have to pinch yourself to. This is Brighton and Hove Albion. This isn't like an Aston Villa or a club who's been there, been at the top of the mountain, and they're going to try and rebuild and do it again. This is Brighton. You know, Brighton are a club that would have, if you'd have said a decade ago to someone, in 10 years' time, lads, Brighton are going to be in Europe. They're going to be third place in the Premier League, and they look like they can stay there. They'd have taken you and drug tested you because, like, that's just not normal. That doesn't happen. You know, this is kind of a Leicester thing. You know, when Leicester went from Nigel Pearson to Claudio Ranieri to winning the league, everyone was like, how did that happen? Well, there's multitudes of reasons for it. But the difference between this side and that Leicester side found a way of playing counter-attacking football and had a striker who was on form and was brilliant. And they became really hard to beat. This Brighton side looked like they're playing some of the best football, most attacking, open, attractive football as you're likely to see from anyone in Europe. And it's a toss of a coin. They can lose games like they did against West Ham. And they lost a couple last season as well, where they got absolutely spanked. And then they can do what they did at the weekend. Come from behind against Bournemouth, having lost in Europe in their very first game ever in Europe. To be able to come back from that loss with the expectation and the build-up that would have been around that game, to go 1-0 down and show balls to come back and win it again, that's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal. And I think the length of the season, the congestion of the season will probably hurt them in the end. But it won't be for a want of trying that they'll try to get back into Europe by their league position again next season. They're a side I would hate to play in Europe if they got into knockout football, because they could be a right handful.
Yeah, he's doing good thing. I mean, that result, I think, on Thursday, it certainly took me by surprise. I was expecting them to pretty easily be able to handle AEK Athens, and you don't know what goes on with the players in their heads. You know, for some of them, it would be their first taste of Europe. You'd hope that having senior guys like Adam Lallana and James Milner being in there to help them keep their heads screwed on straight, but we'll have to see how they bounce back after that. And then, of course, we got them in 2 weeks. I think we go away to Brighton. So yeah. And I brought up the question of replacing Klopp, but I mean, little rumors coming out today that there might be a possibility of Klopp signing another extension. I don't care that it's from a very unreliable source. It is good news, so I am just going to presume
there was an extension announced today already. There was a nice extension announced today already. Chris Brack is in the chat. Chris is delighted. Chris sent me these big long string of emojis and gift texts on WhatsApp when it was announced tonight. He's just like ecstatic. He didn't know what to. The words just wouldn't come out of his mouth. He was that emotional about Kostas Tsimikas extending his contract at Liverpool. Yeah. He just didn't know what to say.
We could save that for our Phil Casey quickfire round at the end of the show there, because that came out of absolutely nowhere. But Kev, you got a nice winner for me, and this is one that I'm very happy that you brought up, because a couple weeks ago you gave your winner of the week to Joe Gomez, and were kind of slated for it by the host at the time. I think that has aged rather well, calling Joe Gomez the winner of the week, because he's gone on to have a couple of good performances in a row. But your winner of the week this week, who you got?
Darwin Nunez.
Oh,
I mean, the thing is, it looks like the pennies finally dropped with him. You know, he looks phenomenal, doesn't he? He just looks at home in the 9. He looks like he's bought into the defensive side of the game. He looks like he gets it. He looks like he knows where to be and when to be there. And he looks like he wants to do it. That's the whole thing for a number 9 for me, for the way Klopp. You look at how Klopp wants to set up. You have to want to do it. And it has to become second nature. And it looks like it is. I still can't get over that second goal. When we talked about on the post-match, I was like, that's still the best goal I've seen this season. There's been better goals, but for me, that was a beautiful goal. A beautiful finish. Composure.
Did you watch the every angle thing that the Liverpool social media?
Yeah,
from every angle, gorgeous.
He just gives us that X factor that we don't have from any of the other strikers. I mean, I think the five forwards that we have at the club are really good, and they're all different in their own way. They're all unique and offer different things in their own way. But he is the one that offers you the pace, the power, the strength. And now it looks like the touch and the technique and the composure to sniff out a chance. I mean, you say that, and then he goes and he flopped his lines before that and missed an absolute sitter. But in general, his general overall play is just improving game after game after game after game. You know, I was doubtful at the start of the season if he would, you know, everyone talks about the second season syndrome. The thing that he had at Benfica, he came in, he had a rough start, and the second season he blew it away. The Portuguese league is a different league. You know, to be able to come in the second season of the Premier League after most managers have seen you and they think they've worked you out, to come in and start doing what he's doing is a bit special. You know, I can't wait to see where he goes with it for this season. But look, the signs are promising. Signs are absolutely promising.
Yeah, we're getting some help from the chat here with some stats. Rondo Red says Nunez has got 4 goals in 6 games, which means he could finish with 25. I don't think that's out of the question at all. And resident Costa Simicast fan club president Chris Brack says Darwin averages a goal every 141 minutes. By context, Salah's at 134, Torres 135, Suarez 138, Daniel Sturridge 140. And Darwin is a goal or an assist every 107 minutes. The lad is producing. I mean, Davo, I'm presuming you're pleasantly surprised with Darwin's second season start so far, but is there one part of his game that's surprised you the most?
Listen, I'm actually not surprised with, to be honest with you. I actually thought he had a good season last year for a fella coming in to a big club for a big fee, the language barrier. I've get loads wrong all the time, plenty wrong about football, but I had me colours nailed to the mast with Darwin pretty much straight away. I think he's brilliant. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, look, Kev was right. Defensive side of the game was something, and I think a lot of it probably was down to the language barrier, learning about what you needed to do and whatnot. I was at the Fulham game in May. That was a thoroughly, absolutely disgracefully bad game, but he wins us the game. He runs the channels well. He defended from the front, brilliant. And you remember, we get a penalty. He closes down the Fulham centre back, wins it off him, and your man ends up volleying him up in the air for a penalty. Wins us the game. So I'm not surprised. I was expecting it. I'm glad it's coming to fruition, because I think he's Captain Chaos, but I think that's a good thing. I don't want that to come across as like, listen, he doesn't really know what he's doing, so he just gets in there amongst it and all that. He's like the build-up play in the halfway line. turns to give the ball to Diaz for the penalty is excellent. And it's probably something he wasn't doing last year that might bounce off him and defender pick it up, or a midfielder picks it up. He turns away well and he gets it to Diaz and then continues on his run, sprints in. Ball's not great from Diaz, manages to stick a leg out the way to the mouth. We get a penalty. I think he probably, the sitter that he misses, he hits too well. He probably needs to scuff that a bit because it's just wide. He should score. Look, there's no doubt about it. He should score. But when you see a certain angle of it, it's a really true strike that he probably just needs to scuff a bit and it goes in. And then I'm with Kev. That finish is absolutely out of this world. And I think if you played a bit of football, even down the Astro or anything like that, a ball coming over your shoulder like that, coming down, and you trying to control the finish like that at the highest level as well, I thought it was absolutely fucking quality. And yeah, I'm delighted. I'm delighted, and I was expecting it. I'm a big fan of his, big fan of his. And that's not to say there's games where he listen, he's going to drop out. And listen, there might be games where things go astray from a little bit with his build-up play and stuff that he obviously still have to work at that. But yeah, absolutely definite winner of the weekend. I was delighted Kev picked him, to be honest.
Yeah, as was I. I mean, we, Kev, Luke, and I recorded a preseason preview show, which I don't even think ever got released, did it,
nope,
Kev?
Never.
Probably.
We don't need to talk about it.
Well, on that show, I had big hopes for Darwin Nunez this year. Like, I really thought he was gonna have a massive breakout season, but I thought he would take a little longer to get in, because I really highly rate Gakpo, and I think Gakpo's probably been our most disappointing player this season so far. Not that he's been bad, but he just wasn't as good as he looked when he came in last January. Like, I thought he fit into the team so well when we were really struggling last year. And then this year, he was deployed in midfield for the first 2 games, which obviously isn't his natural position. And then Darwin came in and he got his chance. And I mean, those 2 goals against Newcastle have just proved to be this insane springboard for him, where now it seems like it is, without question, he's the go-to guy. Like, if we've got a cup final to play next weekend, I think he's starting up front for Jurgen Klopp, that he's going to get that pick for him. So I'm beyond happy to see that. But it's the things off the ball, like the chasing back, being back to cover, in the right back position. He did that yesterday at one point, just in the middle of the game. Like, it wasn't really a massive turning point or anything like that, but it was just really good to see our number 9 getting back in there. And it got me into thinking that he might even be benefiting from Trent not being in the team, because having Trent there, he was like last season, he was trying to play off of the shoulder. He was always looking to get in behind because Trent can play that long ball at any moment. But without having Trent there, and knowing that he's got a guy like Gakpo that can come and take his spot, because Gakpo is more capable of dropping in, providing that link-up play, being more that Bobby Firmino sort of style forward, and helping out with the defensive work, that he knows that he has to pick up that slack, that he can't just be this Ferrari that goes screaming after these long balls down the wing. And the team has kind of had to adapt without Trent, which I was very concerned about. We've done extremely well. And yeah, Darwin is just absolutely at the heart of that. And Rondo Red with another good comment here. He says, seems Mo is really understanding Darwin's style now that he's become an assist machine. And you saw that in preseason. Like, Mo, I think he had 3 or 4 assists for Darwin in preseason, and they were all the same. Darwin making a left to right run, angled run across the box, Mo with the ball at his feet, making that little slide rule pass in for Darwin to run onto with his right foot, very much like the pass and run that he makes against Newcastle for the winner. So yeah, it's very, very
one of those yesterday as well.
Yeah.
One of those yesterday.
And look, listen, like Gakpo came in January that time, and we were really in a rut, and people were saying, "What have we signed here?" Again, I liked what I saw with him. I particularly liked how he could drop in and turn and had lots of pace, really quick at the ball at his feet. Then we start improving and it clicks from him, and he's a great end of the season. He had a good pre-season. Matt mentioned that he's in midfield then for a couple of games, probably taken away from him. There'll be swings and roundabouts. Like, Gakpo might fall away, or Darwin might fall away for a couple of games. Gakpo comes in, finds a bit of form. Diaz has started well. Jota comes on, gets a goal. There's plenty of games for these fellas, and I would have no worries about Gakpo either. I think he'll find his goal scoring and touch soon enough as well. I'd imagine he'll play on Wednesday night against Leicester, Gakpo. But another excellent player, really intelligent player, and we've got a lot of games between Europa League, and with a bit of luck, we get a win on Wednesday, stay in that competition as well. And no worries. I think we scored 15 or 16 league goals, and I think the front five have 12 or 13 of them. So, like, it shows you. I heard a kind of a pod preview at the start of the season, and I think it was a United fan that said he expected us to be top scorers in the league with the front five that we have, and I'd probably go along with that. I think people are kind of starting to see the firepower that we have.
Yeah, slowly, eventually, the veil of Liverpool being last season's Liverpool is slipping, and rival fans and journalists are starting to go, oh yeah. I was listening to a few podcasts today, and it was like, we all want to see a title race happen. We don't want to see Man City just trot away and coast to an easy victory. Is Liverpool the team to push them? And it's like, yes, we always were. It's just everybody thought that Arsenal was going to be the thing. Sam Tannier, he says, if Nunez had this midfield we have now last season, he would have scored more goals. Imagine Torres without Gerrard and Alonso behind him playing passes, etc. He would have scored less as well too. That does have a lot to do with it. I mean, last year's midfield was it hurt all aspects of our game, and you see what happens when you get legs and engine and creativity and drive in there. And Dominic Sabah's like, hoo, hoo, hoo. And then Kev, Project 5 a.m. He says Marco Bielsa is managing Uruguay now, and that's going to have a big effect on him too.
Yeah, but I just hope that Bielsa realizes that he's an international manager and he doesn't have to run the legs off these guys when he gets them for a couple of weeks. It's all well and good when you're at Leeds and you want to run the legs off from at Ellen Road and do whatever. Well,
he didn't, in fairness, the last day, didn't he? No, I don't know whether that was an injury, but I think he only played him in 45.
Yeah, he did.
In one of the games, the second game, the last
but
one for Uruguay was
should work
as well. So, yeah.
The only one thing I'd say about his goal, the other thing I'd say about his goal, it was the go-ahead goal. If you score that finish when you're 3-1 up, 4-1 up, and you're cruising, and you're relaxed, that's one thing. But after he missed his shot, he's like got into a huge giggle. And he's like, I can't believe it. Lads, do you see that? I actually missed that. Can you believe me? Can you believe it? And then it's that kind of composure. Bear in mind, the state of the game was 1-1. We'd done nothing in the game really until then. We were threatening it. But to have that composure, to be able to just tuck that away, that is such a difficult finish. And that was right. Anyone who's played football at any kind of a level, that ball coming up over your shoulder, to be able to slide that in, it's outstanding, man. I think there's so much to come from it. So much to come from it.
Yeah, I saw on the Liverpool subreddit, somebody put together a compilation of his first-time finishes, and I think there's 7, 8, 9 goals already of just bang, one touch and the ball's into the back of the net. And it's not including the 2 headers he scored against United in the 7-0 when we beat Manchester United 7-0 last year, which I always love mentioning at any given opportunity. But yeah, he is some striker. And I really like that point, Kev, about, because watching that every angle and watching back some of the highlights of his face when he missed, like, he's literally laughing at himself. And Davo, we're going to come to you for a loser, because we all could use a good laugh. Maurizio Pochettino is your loser of the week. Let's all have a big laugh at Chelsea, shall we?
Yeah, listen, it's where do you start? Just listen, the reason he's be loser of the week is a bit due to the fact, he's signed up for this. Pochettino is a manager kind of renowned for looking to work with smaller squads. He's a smaller squad with Spurs. Then listen, he's not short of a few quid. He obviously wanted to get back into the game. Thinks Chelsea's a good opportunity, but I read last year, I heard somewhere last year, they've not they need 2 dressing rooms. They've an overflow dressing room because they can't get all the first team squad players into one dressing room. It's fucking a shambles, the amount of players they have. And then they spend, Kev has got to go into I think a bit more detail, but I think it's roughly £1 billion since Clear Lake have come in 3 windows that they've spent. Now I know they've recouped. They tend to sell pretty well, although listen, it's a different pot altogether about who they're selling to, and Saudi Arabia in bed with Clear Lake, etc., and what goes with that. It's fairly muddy waters there. But for a manager that, like I said there, he generally works with a small group of players, small squad of players. Sorry, likes them tight knit. likes them all pulling in the same direction. When you have that amount of senior pros at the club, you can't keep them all happy. Then the leagues start coming, the agents start coming out with stuff. Dressing room gets a bit leaky. Lads aren't happy. Fellas who aren't playing are pissed off. And then it all just becomes a big fucking shit show where nobody is pulling in the right direction. The lads in the team are happy. The lads are out of the team aren't pulling in the right direction. Particularly, listen, Chelsea are preview for this going back through before Pochettino with numerous managers. So it's more to the fact I'm kind of scratching my head wondering why he went in there, to be honest with you. Like I said, I wouldn't say he's short of a few quid. And he's gone into a job there with like a huge number of senior players, just kind of really like the opposite of what he likes to work with. And ultimately, like, it's on his head. He's the manager. He's the one on the sideline. If they don't score a goal on Wednesday, they can't have a Golden Monk competition on their internal channel, Chelsea TV, in the cup. Like, it's shambolic. I think I read that they've only beaten Bournemouth and Luton in the last fucking 20 games or something like that. Some mad stat anyway, or it's not too many more after that. I put it that way. Like, I think I'm right in that. I think they've only beaten Bournemouth and Luton in the last how many games, stretching back to last season. I think Enzo Fernandez has only won 2 games or whatever. So but look, at some point, like, the buck stops with the manager. And I rate Pochettino. I think he's good. I might be a fool for that, just looking at his time at Spurs where he did really well. But I might be proven wrong on that. He mightn't be any good. As in, he mightn't be top level. But I don't know. I don't know why he took that job, because I can't at this minute. They will improve. They've a lot of injuries, but it's kind of it just strikes me as somewhere that I don't think he'll enjoy working really.
Well,
yeah, sorry, Kev. I just want to get this comment in here from Pochettino from a few days ago where he says, "You have to give time to the lemons. It is a thing that we all believe. They started to work after 2 years at Tottenham. Today in my office, I have yellow ones, green ones, different types, from Spain, from Italy. I don't want to lie. There's a big box of lemons." Now, I don't know if you call something that is garbage from the manufacturer a lemon over there, but that's the word for it over here. It's like, boy, Mauricio, you should have picked any different fruit. Like, lime would have been fine. Oranges, fine. Just
anything, yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't help himself. And one of the Wizard is right. They got 1 game a week. They don't have, and in some ways, it's probably a hindrance to him. I think he could probably he'd have benefited from a run in Europe, where he could play different players, try different things. But he hasn't made that many changes. If you look at all their starting lineups, the nuts and bolts of that side hasn't changed too much. And Davo's right. They got a big squad. They sold a load in the summer, got rid of a load of players, but they've still got a lot of players in that squad. And if they're only playing 1 game a week and they're working on a training ground 4, 5, 6 days a week to practice, to set a plan together, to beat whoever they're playing at the weekend, and they turn around and huff and puff and don't finish the dinner, then you have to ask the question. 434.5 million pounds is what they spent this summer in transfer fees. They recouped 254 million or something like that. But still, in all of that transfer spending and bringing in Lavia and all of the drama they made about Caicedo and everything like that, it never crossed their mind to think, you bought a striker in Christopher Nkunku, you might need a backup for him just in case he breaks down with an injury. And then all of a sudden, he picks up the worst kind of possible injury you could get. It's a horrible injury for anyone. And he's a really good player. He's a real talented player. And he will make a difference when he finally starts his Chelsea career. But at the minute, I watched the highlights of the game and match of the day too tonight. When I recorded and watched it. And they created enough chances against Villa. Sterling, Jackson, Mudryk, they all created chances, but they just can't finish. They don't have none of them have the instinct of a striker. You know, Jackson is a winger. They're trying to convert him into being a number 9, but Jackson is a winger, and you can tell in the way he finishes and the type of finishes he goes for all the time. They're the type of wingers finishes that traditional wingers go for. Another thing tonight, Bruno Salter at Chelsea got sacked. He was one of the coaches. You remember the bald-headed right back?
He took a game, didn't he?
Yeah. Against us in the cup, I think.
Yeah, he got the sack tonight. So he's the first sacrificial lamb by Todd Bowley to as a shot across the bow to the rest of the squad. That, you know, things are going to change one way or another. But the problem for him now is the window's closed. Squad's your squad. You don't have a striker, and it's criminal to almost have spent £1 billion since taking over the club to end up in a situation where Lukaku has scored more goals than Chelsea this month, and he was your player. Do you know what I mean? Erling Haaland,
he still is technically, isn't he? He's on loan.
Erling Haaland has scored more goals than Chelsea since he signed for Man City. You know,
I think they only got 38 goals last season in the league.
Haaland's on 44.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
I saw a tweet from Domino's Pizza in the UK that says since Chelsea last scored a goal that they've delivered 900,000 pizzas, and I hope they don't score so that they can just keep updating that number like the sign outside of a McDonald's back in the day. I mean, getting a few shouts here that, you know, Bowley should be looking at buying Tony. But I mean, this all goes back because, like, it's what you were saying, Davo. Like, why did Pochettino take this job? Like he must have thought that he was the right man to steer the ship correctly, because it was a dumpster fire. Everybody could see that there was issues there. Like last season, Thomas Tuchel got sacked after 7 games. So maybe if Pochettino loses the next one, you know, it might be the same thing. 7 games in, time to change the manager. Graham Potter did not get much longer than that, and he was sacked. Like, how, as a man out of work, 'cause I'm pretty sure Pochettino was out of work by that time, are you looking at that going like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to go in there. The problems behind the scene, like, and it goes so well, like your winner and your loser dovetail so nicely, because you talk about how solid everything behind the scenes is at Brighton. And it's almost the polar opposite at Chelsea. And it's great because they're playing each other in the League Cup on Wednesday. So it's the Davo winner-loser. It's the Davo winner-loser derby there. But like, they do need a striker, but they can't buy one. They probably need a top goalkeeper because they let Kepa go, even though Kepa's not that good. Like, Robert Sanchez made some fantastic saves on the weekend. You know, he really kept them in that game. But like, it's a hiding to nothing, I think, isn't it, Davo? Like, it's unless they go on a big run.
Like I've said earlier, like his MO was like a smaller squad. He went to PSG, who probably have a bigger squad than he's used to working with. That didn't really work from there. Like he's gone to Chelsea now, and one of the hardest things to do in management with your squad at a big club like that is get fellas out, off the wage bill, because they're probably sitting there on 200 grand a week, probably minimum. Some of them internationals that he doesn't want there, and they're going, well, we're not going anywhere because they're only offering me 70 grand a week over a Fiorentina or whoever. And I'm not going for that. I'm on 200 grand. I'm on 200 grand a week here. So it's like the thing that kind of the penny dropping me. Like maybe this summer, when I was younger, when I was a kid, you'd see all the Italian teams used to do business with each other, and I used to be kind of sitting there going, Jesus Christ, like, you know, you'd never sell to Liverpool or Arsenal or between the sides in England and all that. And the reason for that in Italy was because they were the only ones that could afford the wages in the early 90s and mid 90s. So you had a big player in Italy for Inter Milan, and the only place, if you wanted to sell him, the only place you could sell him was within the league to Lazio or AC Milan event or something like that, because that was the big league. Now it's England. So you were sitting there on 200 grand a week, 250 grand a week, and the only place you can go is within England that'll pay your wages. So we're seeing an awful lot more of transfers between bigger clubs in England to kind of FFP and to kind of cook the books or to make things work, to fucking move things about, etc., etc. So I think he's got a real problem. I think Pochettino's got a real problem in shrinking that squad down the way he normally likes it. Because lads are on big dough and they're not going to want to go. And fellas kind of get into I wouldn't say a rut is probably the wrong word. Lads get into a kind of a routine where they're not playing. They're living in London. They're making big money and saying, right, this isn't too bad. And
yeah, Romeo Lavia must be having the time of his life. He doesn't have to play. He gets paid a ton of money. Yeah.
So
it's for here, he says that Julien Laurent, the journalist, says that Pochettino applied twice for the Chelsea job. The first time was when Tuchel got sacked. So, I mean, I guess he's just a sadist.
No, it's not, because the thing is, it doesn't matter if you get sacked by Chelsea. If you're a manager and you get sacked by Chelsea, you're just joining a long list of top-class managers who've been sacked by Chelsea. It doesn't make
and Frank Lampard.
Doesn't matter, and Frank Lampard. But it doesn't hurt their careers. You know, if you get sacked by Liverpool, it hurts your career. You get sacked by Manchester United, I mean, older Manchester United, it would hurt your career. Now, it doesn't. But if you're Chelsea, it's just par for the course. And the thing is, eventually, a manager will go into Chelsea and will get their transfer spend right. And you want to be that guy. So I understand why he took the job. I don't understand why he took the job without a proper director of football in place. And without a clear plan of buying players to play a certain way. It looked like they bought young players for every position on the pitch, except number 9. I just find it fascinating that the hardest thing in the world in football to do is score goals. There's plenty of good sides out there that can set up to be defensive, that can be organised and make life difficult for you, and have decent seasons, might qualify for Europe. And look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa are that club. You know, they'll play well, they're organised, they'll do all right, and they'll get into Europe on the odd time. And they're delighted with life. If you're Chelsea, the ambition is always going to be, well, ever since the Roman Abramovich came in, is to win the league and at a base minimum get top 4. That squad, when they assembled it, is just not capable of it. It's just, there is no way in this world that squad is good enough to compete to get into the Champions League. It's too young, it's too inexperienced, it's too naive. And for all the flicks and tricks and everything like that, they don't have any end product and they don't know what to do when it goes wrong. And it's the thing is, this all started a year ago. And a year on, 12 months on, I said it before we started the show, it won't carry on forever. But it's been 12 months. 12 months and 3 managers later, they're doing exactly the same thing. Tuchel was playing games and being dominant and creating chances and couldn't score. Potter was doing the same. Potter was playing with 65, 70% possession and looking really good and creating loads of chances and couldn't score. And Pochettino is now in the same boat. So you have to ask yourself, what's the common denominator here? It's the guy who buys players doesn't know how to build his team. He doesn't know how to build a squad. And the longer it continues, the better for everyone. But at the end of the day, that club is not far away from having a massive, is massively good. It's going to massively implode. If they didn't have the release valve of being able to dump players off to the Saudi League when they fail at Chelsea, they would be shitting bricks right now. They should be shitting bricks right now. But the fact they've got that release valve in their back pocket for this January and next summer makes them think they'll just keep buying until they get it right.
And it doesn't get any easier for them anyway. I just had a look there. They've Spurs, Arsenal, and City in the next 6, and another 2 games thrown in there at Fulham and Brentford, so London derbies as well. So it's they've had quite a handy fixture list. It's mad. Our worst result of the season is a fucking Stamford Bridge.
After City, they've got Newcastle, Brighton, and United. That's why I put this comment from Robert Maguire. Their next 2 league games are massive for them. They've got to take 3 points from both Fulham and Burnley, and they're both away games. So not a total walk in the park, even though you'd expect they would, because after that, maybe home to Brentford. But I mean, they play outside of us and I guess United, the top 6, top 7 teams in the league. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I thought this time it would be different for Chelsea, that maybe they'd actually let Pochettino have a rebuild and be okay with having the results be poor. But I think the results are just too poor. Like they're just too poor. And Brian O'Halloran had this one here, and again, it goes back to the opposite of what Brighton is doing. Is they got rid of way too many experienced players. The Madrid derby had Rudiger, Azpilicueta, and Kepa in that team, and Brighton made sure that they had some. Yeah, but you gotta you have to have some experienced players in there. And I mean, if the story that I read was true, was that the rule at Chelsea was over the age of 25, won't sign you. We just won't sign you. And that's a very baseball thing. Yeah, I mean, Todd Boehly owns the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are having another fantastic season, but it's a totally different ball game. Like it's football is not baseball, and you cannot run a football team like you run a baseball team. So I think this won't be the last time we'll have Chelsea or Mauricio Pochettino as a loser of the week throughout this season. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. But we're just about done here, coming up on the hour real quick. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Please hit the like button if you can. If you're listening to it afterwards, rate it, share it, all that good stuff. Please help us with our charity partner, the 12 Dublin women running the Dublin City Marathon, raising money for breast cancer awareness. We're getting close to the end of the line here for this. They, of course, then have to run 26 miles to get to the end of their line. But if you can help us out with the fundraising, the link for the GoFundMe is on any of the LFC Daytrippers social media accounts or anything good like that. But I think we got a couple minutes left. Let's do a little bit of quick fire. Kev, give me quick fire, winner or loser.
Bruno Fernandes a winner, because that was some goal. As much as I hate him and I hate him, that was a special finish. And hats off, credit to him. I'm just going to go and wash my mouth out. What's up now?
That's bad. Davo, give me one.
Alisson, what a save. Yesterday at 0-0. 0-0. Absolutely fucking out of this world. And we're lucky to have him. Might very well be the best Premier League keeper of all time. Fucking class.
I saved this one from Owen Burke because it does deserve to be mentioned. Quickfire winner of the week, the Miami Dolphins, for putting up a 70 spot against the Denver Broncos yesterday. 70 points, 10 touchdowns.
That must make John Payton a loser of the week as well now, because that's not going to end well with Russell Wilson and him. I do not think.
Oh, it's not good. Kev, you got another one?
Oh, winner of the week, Kostas Tsimikas. Beautiful Kostas Tsimikas signing an extension at Liverpool.
You're only winding up Chris Brack now.
I know, but no. Look, in all seriousness, you have to have a squad with players like that, because he doesn't complain, he doesn't moan. He knows he's going to play. He's not going to play on a regular basis, and when he does come in, and doesn't cause a problem in the squad. And you've seen it at other clubs where the backup player gets the huff and gets the hump when he's not playing, and starts leaking shit out of the dressing room to agitate for moves or anything like that. There's none of it. He's bought into everything. He's done everything that's been asked of him. Look, he's not the best left back. We know that. But at the end of the day, God loves a trier. So, Kostas Tsimikas.
Yeah, Thor the dyslexic polyglot. I mean, this is probably an oversight on all of our parts here. Loser of the week, Mikel Antonio. The stats that he said more words about Liverpool. He said twice as many words about Liverpool as he had touches in the game. And David Moyes has now lost to Liverpool more times than Mikel Antonio touched the ball in the game.
Yeah. No, I thought Joe Matip was excellent. Actually, I thought he manhandled him, which is a sentence I did not think I'd be saying. I thought Matip absolutely manhandled him. Was there a good side? I think Paqueta could have been a winner this week. Yeah, he was absolutely sensational. He gave
even for that
money a man the match for me now.
Yeah, even that one point where McAllister and Szoboszlai were trying to close him down, and he nutmegged Szoboszlai, and then Rainbow flicked it over McAllister's head. Like, holy shit!
Really good player.
Yeah, it's probably too bad for people that like watching the beautiful game that he's probably going to get an absolutely massive ban for what is hanging over top of his head. Yeah. But I think that's just about enough for one night. So thank you, Davo, for joining us. Thank you, Kev, for joining me. Be seeing you on Wednesday, I believe it is, Kev. I mistakenly said Thursday, so I'm glad I checked the schedule. Liverpool play Leicester at, 8:15 Irish time on Wednesday in the League Cup. We get another competition started, so we'll be there for full-time Reds afterwards. But this has been your winners and losers of the week. You're all winners for joining us. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.